Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. We all know that Embracing the Fight was created to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. And hopefully, you've been watching me since January 2023, and you know the message that I'm trying to spread. So please help me spread this message by clicking like, sharing, and subscribing to my YouTube channel, Embracing the Fight. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get down to business. You all see I have a very beautiful young lady on the screen today, and her name is Miss Mina Randall. Everybody give a hand for Miss Mina Randall.
Yay!
All right, so this is episode 54, When Two Worlds Collide. So Amina, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why we chose the episode title, When Two Worlds Collide?
Yes, thank you for having me. My
Oh,
name
you're
is
welcome.
Mina Randall. I am the owner of the brand called Mina Vinci, which is an artist brand, but it also advocates for mental health and a lot of issues that we have in the Black community that I'm very proud and very fortunate to be working with. The title we chose today, When Two Worlds Collide,
Mhm.
is because I do have sickle cell disease. And the way that you get that disease is by literally having two parents that have traits, which is just another word for having an anemia in their blood. And when those two worlds collide, you get a child with sickle cell sometimes. Sometimes you don't. My mom and dad had three children, and I was the lucky one. Yay!
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit more about what sickle cell actually is?
Okay, sickle cell is a blood disorder,
Mhm.
and what it does is it's two ways I can explain it. The actual what's going on in your body
Mhm.
is just everybody has red blood cells, and they're formed in little circles,
Mhm.
and they carry oxygen throughout your body, make all your organs and everything work. When you have sickle cell, you do have those normal blood cells, but you also have some deformed cells that
Mhm.
are in the shape of sickles. They look like something similar to like a crescent moon shape,
Mhm.
and trying to get those to flow through your veins can cause pain. They can tangle up, and they can block oxygen from going to different parts of your body, which causes what is known as a sickle cell crisis. And
Mhm.
it's literally just you having extreme pain in any part of your body because your blood flows everywhere from your
Mhm.
head to your toes.
That's right. And you and I were having a conversation earlier, and something you said, really resonated with me. When I asked you how you found out, that you had sickle cell, and you were saying it was when you were a child. Can you give us, a visual representation of what that was like for you?
Well, I've had it all my life, so it was just something that I've known, that I get sick. When
Mhm.
other kids can go run and play, I can try. I might have a good day and everything go smooth, but a lot more often I would just not feel good. I would be in pain. I would have headaches, stomach aches, my legs hurt, and I would have to go to the hospital. And so I was telling you, like, one of my earliest memories
Mhm.
was literally being hospitalized at 5 years old
Mhm.
and having to stay overnight. And back in the 80s, when the age was so, but back in about the early 80s, those beds, they were barbaric. They were
Mhm.
literally steel imitations of cribs, but because they didn't want you to fall out or try to get out, they would have it so that it closed up like a cage.
Mhm.
And it literally felt like, as a small child, you're being caged and left
Mhm.
in a room all by yourself, and you're already in pain. And so, yeah, my introduction to this illness was not a fun one. No.
And as you continue to grow, and you said that you went for a long period of time where you didn't have any of these sickle cell crises, but then you ended up getting pregnant and you had a child. And at this point, you started having these crises again. What was that like for you now that you're a mother?
That's a whole different ball game. Child. When it really started to hit me really bad, I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not know it at the time, but they do recommend for a long time sickle cell mothers, women not attempt to get pregnant
Oh, wow.
because of all the complications.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the severity of your disease, because everybody's different. Some people have it really, really worse off than others. And depending on how severe yours is, a lot of doctors would say, we don't recommend you to have kids because you can go through a really hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very, very least, we recommend that you make sure that your partner doesn't have sickle cell so you do not produce a child with your same illness. And I was just living my life. I was 18, so
Right.
I'm not thinking about hospitals and doctors, especially because I wasn't getting sick from middle school, high school. I was a normal teen. And so when I got pregnant, that was the furthest thing from my mind. It really was. It was more like, oh my God, is my mom going to take That's what I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about anything sickle cell related until it actually started to affect me. And knowing what I know now, it would have been a lot easier. But back then, you know, you don't know what you don't know when you
Right.
don't know it. And the hospitals that I went to, they they were like, we don't want the baby to get any of this medication that we need to give you. So instead of putting it in your IV, which would be a lot less painful to you while you're already in pain, we're going to give you IM shots in your hips
Oh,
every single time that you need some pain medicine. So now I'm having swollen and sore, and to the point I couldn't have. I didn't have any feeling in either of my hips because I'm a pincushion now,
mhm,
and I have an IV already in that they could have just pushed it in. Like it doesn't make sense now looking back, but
mhm,
it's like I had told you, a lot of times sickle cell was the last disease on the list when
mhm,
it comes to hospital education, doctors educating their nurses and staff on both fronts, whether knowing what it is and being knowledgeable of it or how to treat us.
mhm.
Like we get the short end of the stick, really. And so even now in 2024, it's extremely hard.
Okay, so when you go to a particular doctor, do you see a hematologist or do you see another type of doctor that specializes specifically, with sickle cell anemia?
I do see hematologists.
Okay.
And I've tried to keep the same one for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I go see them once a month. They check my blood counts and they prescribe my medication for me to take daily, which is some variations of pain medications. And now in 2024 is the most time that I've seen them have a lot of sickle cell drugs on the market.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, when drugs come out, they're really kind of experimental, even when they allow them to hit the market and get FDA approval.
Finance, right?
They're still, yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot more money motivated versus does it actually work?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really, really hesitant in trying a lot of the new drugs.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of that hesitance, doesn't that come from how you were previously treated when you were going in to have the different transfusions, whether if it was like vitamin C or if there's a iron or any blood transfusions or anything like that? Is it that it bothered you then how they treated you as an experiment more so than a patient?
Um, I would say I've had good and bad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to be, prejudged what the situation is because I've seen hundreds of hospitals and doctors by now. But
Mhm.
yeah, I have had a lot of scarring experiences with some doctors that would really, it does affect you because it makes me not quick to go get treated, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And with this illness, I found it's a lot easier to get your pain treated if you address it as soon as it comes on. Because once it takes off and it's at its height, it's a lot more work and a lot longer of a treatment path to try to break it than it is if you go when it first starts. But with all the things that happen to me with doctors and such, it makes me say, I could just treat it at home. I'm fine. Or
Mhm.
I'll just take this and see, and I'll take that and see, and just lay down and just try almost everything imaginable at home first.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's to my detriment. Um, because I do know a patient that passed away in an emergency room waiting to be seen. And when you say you have sickle cell, when you go to the hospital, they don't move any faster than you saying you got a blister on your finger. And so I've sat in waiting rooms in extreme pain, feeling like I was about to die for hours.
Mhm.
The longest might have been anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. You know, on average, it was hospitals that their average wait was 4 hours.
Mhm.
And it's like when you're in pain, that feels like an eternity. It literally does. It feels like you're in the waiting room trying to go to heaven and you're not gonna get in. They calling everybody but you. You're like, maybe I ain't getting in. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
And you and I were having a discussion too, about my cousin, and I was saying how my cousin passed away at age of 48 when she had sickle cell, but she was always, the life of the party. She was always very funny, very lighthearted, but she had to endure, a whole lot physically. So how does sickle cell actually, affect you when it comes to your mental health?
I think the really big effects that it takes, a lot of times we don't even like to address or notice,
Hmm.
because it's so much of our everyday experience and it's just what we know and it's our lives.
Hmm.
But when you take a step back and just be really observant and just try to take stock of how you feel, because a lot of times you don't get to stop and ask yourself, how you doing, how
Right.
you feel, are you okay? Because you in so much turmoil physically and mentally daily. It's like getting used to stress and high amounts of trauma on
Hmm.
a daily basis. Because if the actual pain that you're going through isn't jarring enough, the way you get treated will almost just astound you. That it's like a lot of times I've met nurses and doctors that treat you like you're not even human.
Hmm.
So it does affect your mental. It does. And it's a lot of depression that comes along with it. It's a lot of stress, anxiety, you name it.
Mhm. And how did you deal with the stress and the depression and the anxiety?
For a long time, I didn't know how to,
Mhm.
and I think that was one of my prompts to doing interviews like this and just speaking out, because a lot of our upbringing in the Black community
Mhm.
tells us to walk it off.
Right.
Shake it off. You're feeling sorry for yourself. You're just, oh, look who's complaining and you're lazy and you know, and we're not really ever allowed to have a bad day.
Right.
We're not even allowed to feel the effects of the things that we go through normally, just as women or Black women. You might go to work and have a horrible environment, have condescending and nasty co-workers and management and everybody around you gaslight you and tell you, no, this is normal. You're being over dramatic
Right.
and this is the job and you need to be a team player and make you think that it's something wrong with you. This is work. Grow up. And so no matter what toll it's taking on you, if this is something that is necessary to your livelihood, you get back in there. And nobody wants to hear you complain because you can either find employment elsewhere or we'll find somebody who's more professional. So it's like that. You know personally inside you're going through hell.
Yep.
But if everybody around you tells you, really, just you're fine. It's not that serious. Girl, go get a cappuccino or something. God,
Yep.
and then you actually question yourself.
Mhm.
Am I being dramatic? Do I have the rights to feel? And it's not until we as women, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm 41
Mhm.
and I probably just started actually giving myself permission to acknowledge my feelings, what I feel, and validate them myself. Because a lot of our society tells you if you don't have an outside validator, then it's not happening.
Right. And that's crazy. And things like, we lose our voice. And something that you said earlier, when I say rock me to my core, when you were talking about feeling like an experiment, to these doctors and going into a place to be medicated and only to come out to hear that someone else who had been going in there with you was no longer with us. And you were just sitting there basically waiting to see when your turn was because you didn't know, what this doctor was doing. And you didn't see an end to it. And it ended up changing the trajectory of your life. Can you kind of talk to that and give us an idea of what it was like, losing your voice and feeling like this is something you had to do?
Right. But like I said, our voices get lost real early on. So, even growing up, the way we grow up, children are to be seen and not heard.
Mhm.
If I say go to bed, go to bed. So we learn to go along and silence our voices and, be a good girl,
Yep.
you know, that respect your adults, respect your elders, respect your authority figures.
Mhm.
And so when you get someone in that white coat that looks all so knowledgeable and they
Mhm.
have all these degrees and all this experience and they have all these subordinates around them that treat them like they are the end all be all,
Mhm.
who are you to question
Mhm.
what they say or do? I had that same doctor when I was thinking of trying to have a second child.
Mhm.
Now, when I had my first daughter, I was 18. So, that was more or less just being young and immature, and it was no planning involved. But
Right.
by the time I was 25, 26, I was thinking about having another child, but I was scared because that pregnancy triggered a lot of my
Mhm.
illness. So I asked this doctor, do you think I could be able to carry another child with all the things that I'm going through medically?
Mhm.
And I kid you not, he said, "Oh, if you want to have a baby, I can help you get through that. It'll be no problem." So I'm feeling a little bit like, relieved because I was
Mhm.
thinking about that. I wasn't even like focusing on all the negative, like painful things that was happening. I'm thinking that I get up from the table to walk to the door to leave out his office. It's me and him in the examination room.
Mhm.
This doctor presses his body up against mine. I'm 25, like erect. This is a doctor. And I'm like stunned, And he's like, if you want to have a baby, I definitely can help you with that.
Mhm.
And I unlock the door and just leave out. Now, when you talk about voices, it's hard to even have one or even just saying it out loud now to you, because who are they going to believe?
Right.
It's this doctor that's the head of hematology and, you know, well accredited and revered. And he was a horrible man and a horrible doctor.
Mhm.
And he has everybody, to his credit, saying how great he is. Here I am. I don't get to have all these accolades next to my name, not because I'm not intelligent enough to achieve them, not because I'm not driven enough, but because I got the luck of the draw to have a debilitating disease that puts me in a hospital bed. So you're a poor little Black girl. Who's going to believe you? Why did you keep going to see him? Never mind, he's giving you medication that keeps you coming there. Because if you try to go to another hospital, he's turned my medicine up so high that other doctors are like, we ain't giving you the amount that you're getting. And that's too high for them to be giving to you. You might need to go to rehab to get off that medication. And now you're hearing rehab and words like that thrown around that all have negative connotations, because you equate that with heroin addicts and,
Mhm.
street people that aren't someone that just had an illness and had a doctor that prescribed them knowingly, knowledgeable all the way, fully intact, knowing what he was doing.
Mhm.
And now you're in these predicaments. So when you ask me, like, when did my voice get lost, I couldn't tell you that I ever got one. And it's unfortunate because I'm very well spoken. I know what I'm talking about. I've always been the one to speak up for other people.
Mhm.
But when it comes to myself in a lot of those situations and with this illness, it's kind of one of those things when somebody treats you like something and tells you you're something over and over again, you start to believe,
Mhm.
and it's power plays and politics. And the last thing you want to do when you have an illness that requires medical attention almost daily, weekly, monthly, is get a reputation of a bad patient
Mhm.
and not have anybody want to work with you. Because what would you do if your life depended upon doctors and their treatment and medication, and you go and cause I didn't want to be blackbarred. I didn't want to. I knew that I probably didn't have a dog in the fight, and it was no witnesses. And that same doctor went on to cause the death of at least 9 patients that I know of. And one more that I found out through Facebook was a young lady whose daughter, she had 2 children with sickle cell, and one of them was his patient, and she passed away. Unfortunately, she was like 20 years old. So it's a matter of perspective. I think it's the only thing that can keep us upbeat when you have situations like this, because I could be dead. I could have been gone, and I'm here to talk about it.
Mhm.
And if I didn't tell you I had such a horrific health issue going on, you really wouldn't know.
Mhm.
So I count myself lucky and blessed, even though struggle is an understatement.
But I want you to know before you go any further that you absolutely matter, that your voice does matter. And you and I were raised, around the same time, because I'm 46 and you said you're 41. And during that time, sometimes we would hold things in because we thought that it would, keep the dust down. It would
Yeah.
make things, easy for us, or whatever it was would just, go away if we just fall in line, do as you're told, kind of thing. But you were doing the best you could with what you had. That's why you didn't allow your voice to be heard. But now that same voice that you have, you can use it to advocate for others, to fill that space, to help them understand that just because one doctor is this way, all doctors are not that way. And that doctor can be brought before the board and they could be sued for malpractice and they could lose their license to practice medicine just because they have, that white coat doesn't make them God. It does make them skilled in whatever area it is that they are focusing on, but it doesn't give them the right to treat you any kind of way just because you might not have had, enough money, or you may not look like what they thought you should have, as far as your skin hue or your nationality, your background. You had absolutely nothing to do with that. You have a chronic illness, you deserve treatment just as well as anyone. You are a beautiful, bright, young individual. And I believe that your voice could do so much for so many women that's sitting out there saying, I got sickle cell and I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm in a corner. So I just really want you to know that, because your personality, shines through. And like I said, when you were telling me, some of that stuff earlier, when I say it really touched me to the core, it was like, you already going through this. And then you have somebody that's taking advantage of it, that's supposed to be helping you, that it took an oath to help you, and they're harming you. And now that, so many years have passed and so many lives have been lost, it sounds like this is happening to you right now. It sounds fresh, in your voice. And I just wonder, as you continue to have treatments and as you continue to go along in your life, you don't see this particular physician anymore, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I stopped seeing him about 25. Yeah.
Okay.
But it is fresh because it's still going on. It's still, you'll have doctors that say, oh yeah, I have pain medicine in my office and I could give you an IV, but we reserve that for our cancer patients, not our sickle cell patients. To your face, which is literally, and you look around, oh, you mean the white elderly patients, they must be in real pain. Mine isn't that serious. I need to go and sit in a waiting room. We have the same doctor in the same place, and that's acceptable.
Mm. And then
And
I too recall you saying something about after you had gotten to such, a high level of pain medication that they given you, you actually had a stint of time where they put you in a mental institution, or they had you to seek mental health therapy or something of that nature, rather than trying to help, wean you off the medication because of the changes it was having on your mental health.
so it was two things that happened. So one, with when it came to me taking a lot of medication, my mother was concerned, of course, seeing her daughter who went through decades without having to need any medication, and then now being told that she has to be on daily meds, which are causing me to sleep and not really be that functional. And I have a child, so at the time my daughter was like 5, and so I could not have raised my child myself without my mother's help. Like, it was no way. um but what happened with the pain meds, that one doctor was giving me everything under the sun. I had prescriptions to um morphine, Dilaudid, Percocet, trying to think, it was maybe another two. I do know for a fact that on top of the pills, I was prescribed IM shots, which is literally a set of needles and a set of the medication in vials. So if these pills don't work, you go ahead with no experience. I'm not a diabetic or anything. Go ahead and inject yourself in your hips or in the meat of your thigh. And this is all happening while He has me under treatment daily of coming into his office and getting put under IV medication daily, Monday through Friday. And so when my mom is questioning, like, hold up, why does she have to come here so often? The thing that he did to make money was, to give you an idea, if you go to the hospital right now, the amount of medication that you're allowed to get in one dose might be 1 milligram. If you're really in pain, I require 2 milligrams.
Mhm.
That doctor was giving out 3 to 4 in one dose. And in the emergency room, they will give you 3 rounds. If you don't feel better by those 3 rounds, then you stay in the hospital and you're admitted. He was giving out 4 rounds and was sending us home. So it's already 3 times the normal amount of medication
Mhm.
daily. So what happens if you take any medicine on a regular basis, your body becomes used to it. Your body becomes dependent on it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I was addicted, but my body sure was.
Mhm.
Because when you go into the chemical makeup of just what your body is getting from it, it's like now it's its new normal. I might as well have been on a street drug, because if I was to say, you know what, this doesn't seem right, I don't want to be medicated all the time, and just stop, the amount of pain that I would go through was way more severe than my normal, even sickle cell pain,
Mhm.
because I'm going through withdrawals from the medication and they're high amounts. So I would liken it to feeling like my bones were on fire.
Mm.
And so to say, well, why didn't you just stop going? It's like, it's that or this. And when you're in that amount of pain, I would have opted for a horse tranquilizer. You could have given me anything that will make it stop.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what I need. So trying to go to other hospitals, they couldn't get my pain to break because the normal amounts of medication weren't touching it anymore. And they would suggest being put into their I wouldn't call it a rehab, because it literally was a mental facility. And
Mhm.
I would be like, can so when I asked the regular doctor, can you send me to a program to wean myself down and get my tolerance back down to normal levels, he said, I don't recommend that for you because you're a sickle cell patient. So the next time you get put into a crisis, you're going to need those same medications again. So what will be the point? And that was the end of the conversation. So
Mhm.
I literally I weaned myself off of all those meds.
Mhm.
I stopped going to them and was not well. I think I had a new doctor. They gave me some medication, and I kind of almost blacked out the experience because I know it was painful. I know it was hard. I know that I didn't have a bunch of options, and my mom didn't have any experience or the money to send me to a nice, you
Mhm.
know, place that could do it medically now. And that was like 20 years ago. Now they have, procedures and stuff. They're still really, really costly, but they have procedures where they can put you to sleep.
Mhm.
And when you wake up, your body is free from that drug, and it's like you started all the way over. And they medically induce you, and they go ahead and treat you for all those symptoms.
Mhm.
What happened with the I didn't say when. So when I know you've heard of John Hopkins.
Yes. Mhm.
Everybody has heard of John Hopkins. John Hopkins is one of the number one accredited hospitals in the United States of these Americas, right?
Mhm.
Um, So when my mom got concerned, like, this is way too much. She's basically in a living coma day to day. Like, I want her better, but I want her functional. She took me to John Hopkins. John Hopkins has what's supposed to be one of the best sickle cell programs, best doctors.
Mhm.
And so I went there hopeful. They admitted me. I was in a crisis at the time, so I had to get all the normal things, the IVs, fluids, oxygen, pain medications until I got well. It was a little bit of a longer road because they were giving me less medication than I was used to, but it's still, I want to say I might have been there 2 weeks,
Mhm.
right? My mom tells the doctors, I'm concerned with the amounts of medicine this doctor's giving her. They say, okay, don't worry, we're going to get her good. I have two nurses come into my room, and it's close to me being ready to get discharged. And they say, hey, how are you? I'm good. I'm good. Um, would you like to um have it so that you don't have to take medication daily? And would you like to not have to need so much medicine all the time and still be well? It's like, yes, like, that's my dream, definitely. They were
Mhm.
like, okay, well, you're in luck because we have this new doctor here, and he has this new program, and he can help you do just that. And we're going to get you all the way together. And I'm like, okay. They are smiling, ear to ear smiling. They're making it sound like it's this fabulous thing. And I'm like, "Oh, what is this?" They bring paperwork, sign right here, sign right there. What I noticed right after I signed those papers, I could hear like chatter in the hallways, like they're talking about me. And I had another nurse come in and be like, we're so proud of you that you signed that paperwork. Like, you're going to feel so much better. And then I started to worry, like, what the fuck did I sign? What are they so up in arms about? Next thing I know, the same nurse came back with the wheelchair. I was like, come on, we're going to move you to the another wing in the hospital where they do that program there. It's not done on the regular floor. Okay. They take me around to this long hallway. And if anybody's ever been to John Hopkins, that it's a remodeled new building, but they still have a lot of the old hospital there. And the old hospital, it looks so scary. It's dark, it's long. It's like they refurbished certain parts in some hallways they just didn't.
Mhm.
So now I'm in this like darker part of a hallway, and it's these two big doors, and it's a combination to get in. And they checked me into their mental facility, their street drug program in Baltimore City, in the inner city of Baltimore, where crack was really, really hot and heroin. So now, after coming from my home, from my private room, and being treated for my illness, I'm now thrown in with and being made to share a room with street drug addicts.
Oh, wow.
And what they did immediately was take my belongings and take my phone away and take all my stuff and say, you have signed yourself in, you cannot leave. And the our plan of treatment is to take you off all your medication and just watch you suffer. That was their plan. That was their great plan.
Crazy.
So while I just finished going through a crisis and just got stable enough and needed to go home and just take, the pill form of the medication to get back to normal, they've decided I don't get those pills and I don't get anything. And so overnight, I go into withdrawal, and I can't move. I'm in so much pain. Like, I'm throwing up. Um, and they're like, it's normal. I'm not on heroin. I have an illness. They come to do my vitals, my pressure's high, my heart's like everything is out of whack, and they're just leaving me there. And I called my mom, and my mom just was like out of town for like the first day. So I want to say I was there at least 2 days with no medicine, just like looking like
Mm.
looking like E.T. in the movie when he was about to die. It was horrible. Bad. And my mom came up and she's like, I need to see your doctor immediately because I couldn't even move. She looked at me like, what did I do to you? And they're like, we're sorry, it's a weekend. Doctor's not here. You gotta wait till Monday.
Oh, mm-mm.
And she had to threaten to sue them and say, I want to see the hospital administrator, somebody better let her out of here because she has sickle cell. She's not a street drug addict. She needs her medication. Y'all can hurt her or kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was just in a crisis. So that means she's already at a heightened state of sensitivity. And y'all took like it was bad.
Good thing
So
your mom was there. Goodness.
since she got there, because she wasn't for like 2, 3 days. Like,
Yeah. But during those 2 to 3 days when she wasn't there, what do you think was sustaining you? What do you think helped you get through it?
I mean, I know it was God. I know I have angels. I know I've always had them because there's no absolute way that I could just go through so much suffering and so much trauma after trauma after trauma and just not only continue, but come out intact. And I used to like really think it was weird that I had such a photographic, detailed memory that would like stretch all the way back. And I didn't know what it was for at first. And as I've gotten older and continued to not only go through tribulations but triumph through them, I realized that it was my gift and my curse to be able to use my voice and tell the stories and let people know the horrors that are going on right here in America. And it's supposed to be this great, affluent place, and we're supposed to be so well advanced in the level of abuse that happens from people of authority. And it's not just like police or like things that, but it's like if no one ever speaks on it and no one ever shines a light on it, it's never going to get any better.
Right.
And so I do believe that that's my job. It's my calling to literally not just see something going on and help others and spread as much love and as much kindness as I can, but to also, you know, be the one. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to,
Okay.
you know.
And is there anything that you would tell someone who is going through their first crisis with sickle cell? Is there anything that you could tell them that potentially help them get through it and help them get through it faster than normal?
Yeah. It's a couple things. Um, First thing, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. And the older you get, I think the more painful the crises come. So they do stun you, because you think, well, I know what's gonna come, and I know I've had them before, I've dealt with them before, and you kind of think you're an expert for a little while until you get to that big crisis that knocks you really down. And um it's hard, but you have to pray. You have to hold on. And if you have a support system, it's great. You have to utilize them, but you also have to appreciate them and let them know you appreciate them because they get worn out too. This thing is not easy for anybody by any means. And, you know, one thing that I've learned along the way that nobody will tell you is the least amount of meds you take, the better. The more you take care of yourself diet wise and natural herbal remedies and stuff like that, like the things that they don't give you in the hospital and don't even speak of, like CMOS and chlorophyll and elderberry and things like that. Do your research as much as you can on home, like grown, natural, organic stuff. And that's the best route. That's all.
Did you change your diet? Are you like vegan, vegetarian, or you just eat whatever you want to eat?
Love to say that that was the case. That yes, because everybody that I know that has literally says it changed their whole life and they don't get sick at all from it.
Really?
Right. So I'm trying, but you know, lifestyles, it's not a habit, it's a lifestyle. What we eat, what we get used to eating, your taste buds, the
Right.
taste alone, a lot of the food is so foreign to us that it's like it's a hard thing to achieve. And I really commend people that can just switch all the way over. But I do just try to incorporate a lot more vegetables, a lot more fruit, and just pH water,
Mm-hmm.
and just try to stay out of the fast food restaurants. But if nothing else, because yeah, the food by itself will make you sick all by itself without having anything else going on in your body.
So have you noticed any particular food that's like a trigger for a crisis?
Um, not anything specific, no, but I do just know that you get more sluggish and more fatigue when you eat a lot of the heavier foods, like anybody else. But no food directly related issues. It's just more of less trying to get as much natural things as you can. And it's so funny when I say it because doctors are really against it. They'll laugh at you like, that, yeah, no, it doesn't sound like anything that it would make a difference or matter by you doing that. But good luck with that.
Wow, that's interesting because I've actually come across some doctors that'll tell you, the type of medicines that you could take for certain things, but then at the same time, they lean more to the eating healthy, exercising, keeping a healthy body weight, making sure you're hydrated, making sure, you're doing vitamins and things like that. And to hear what you've gone
But
through.
not that once you start talking about sea moss and chlorophyll and things from like the organic, like natural store and things like that, they're like, oh, you could try it, but there's no scientific data that would actually make a difference.
There's someone, I don't know if you've paid a lot of different YouTube personalities a whole lot of attention, but there's a guy out there, Dr. Bobby Price, that has a full podcast that talks about, healthy eating, and he grows a lot of the things that he eats, if not all, and a lot of the herbs and a lot of the detoxes and things that he does it, all himself. And he talks about, how it changed his body. I'm really thinking about, doing something, like that this year, because this is my second time, with cancer. And I was just having a conversation with my mom, and she was saying, sugar feeds cancer. And every time you hear when they do like those PET scans and stuff, all they're injecting you with is a sugar. Only way they know if the cancer's there if the sugar goes to it. So that only makes sense. If I cut sugar out of my diet, that's the processed sugars. If I cut those out of my diet, then 9 times out of 10, I can limit the amount of times, or if I have cancer any, other time, and I have to continue to try other things. And I'm really thinking about doing it. And I may ask you to be my accountability partner so you won't have any more pain and I won't have any more cancer. And I say that too, because, both of us, we're African-American women. We both have these podcasts. And I want you to talk a little bit more, about your podcast. You kind of started talking about it in the beginning. You were talking about art and advocating for others. Is that what your podcast is about as well? Or
so I don't have a podcast.
Okay.
I have a brand that I'm working on.
Okay, you have a brand.
Mina Vinci. I wrote a book called Press Start, and it's a motivational tool. And I just put like a lot of my gems, a lot of my tips and things that help me get through hard times. Because a lot of times when you have something traumatic happen
Mhm.
or a big change occur in your life, and people tell you to, okay, now what are you going to do? What's your next step?
Mhm.
And there's a period in between that transition period where there isn't really a lot of detailed step by step things that speak to that part of your life and what you should do and what is important to do as far as decompressing from your last experience, taking stock of how you feel mentally, emotionally, and just really just gathering your thoughts and getting yourself together before you make your next move in your next space, so that you don't bring a lot of that trauma with you and a lot of those negative feelings, and so that you can hold yourself accountable. Because if it's some things that you attributed to what went wrong,
Mhm.
you want to course correct if you can. And so that's what my book is about. It's called Press Start.
Okay.
I'm almost finished with getting it published. I'm going through Amazon, and
Okay.
I'll be posting all the details about that. I have a Instagram and
Mhm.
TikTok page. It's called Mina Vinci underscore the artist.
Okay.
And so
And can you spell that?
yes, it is Minna. Girl, I just lost my train of thought. Mina, Mina Vinci, Vinci, Mina Vinci, and then it's underscore the artist.
Okay.
And how I discovered art was a lot of times I got put in the hospital. I would always make my mother bring me sketchbooks or notebooks, composition books, pencils, and stuff, because it would help me, take my mind somewhere else and focus on something else. At first, I did a lot of writing and just poetry and stuff, but then I started drawing.
Mhm.
And once I started drawing, it led me to then painting. And once I picked up a canvas and paint, it was no turning back. Like I literally just fell in love and didn't even know I had the talent to paint. I
Mhm.
wasn't a painter, you know. And I started doing that, and I also noticed that I could zone out for 6 hours at a
Mhm.
time, 12 hours at a time, and just feel perfectly serene. And it made me realize that art is a form of meditation. So when people say, meditation is always good when you're going through stuff or just day to day life, people automatically go to Indian style pose on the floor and a chant, and everybody doesn't connect with that. You
Right.
know, it works great for people who do, but meditation is anything that helps you clear your mind and
Mhm.
helps you find a clear spot, a peaceful, serene, relaxed spot. And art did that for me. So that's what led me to starting paint therapy, which is it's just like one-on-one. It's sort of like paint and sips,
Mhm.
but it's more focused on relaxing, creating a relaxing environment, whether it's your music you want to hear, incense, candles, aromatherapy, whatever it is, it's catered to you and detailed towards you. And then we paint. And it's
Mhm.
not focused on what the outcome of your painting or the quality of it. It's literally taking that hour to just unwind and unravel and just put all your, stuff to the side for
Right.
a second and just be. And so that's another thing that I found. I just came out with a coloring book
Okay.
um, where I did 30 hand drawn pictures,
Mhm.
and I call it my stress free book. And it literally is, if you can't stop and everybody can't stop and afford to do a paint therapy class per se, but you can take the coloring book with you and set up your own
Right.
environment and be able to marker it, paint it, crayons, whatever. And it also, why I realized that art is such a comforting and relaxing feeling, because it does take you back mentally
Mhm.
to being a child when you had a lot less carefree, a lot more carefree days and a lot less stress and responsibility when you got that fresh pack of Crayolas and
Yeah.
you was gonna make sure you did your outline real dark and did the light inside. You were the bomb colorer then, and but it's a way to reframe your attention. And that's what I noticed. A lot of things when it comes to illnesses and it comes to depression or whatever, stress is the number one doorway that leads us to a lot of those things and a lot of those places. And if you could find ways to manage your stress healthy, then you can decrease the chances of you having to deal with all the big boys of mental illness and physical illness as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I mean, you have been so transparent and you dropped so many gems and you've been so open. I appreciate you doing this because I know we've never met. This is for everyone out there. I threw out there that I needed some people to come on and share their stories. And she was one of the first willing participants that said she would come on and share her story. And here she is. So
Yes,
thank you so much for coming
you
on.
are very welcome. And I wish you so much success in your podcast and all your endeavors. I hope
Thank
you
you.
get very well and healthy as well. And reach out to me anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this episode 54 of Embracing the Fight When Two Worlds Collide. I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.